I'm not mad. I'm just a little disappointed that nobody played tonight for the Wizards in the Summer League. But Jamir Watkins looked like an absolute monster on defense. Let's break it all down here on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
DC family, this is Locked On Wizards, where you're part of our family. We thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day here. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day. No Abdullah today. He is out for the night. We will get back with him tomorrow. So just me tonight. But thankfully, we are joined by our good pal from the Let's Talk About It podcast and Fox Sports Knoxville, Tyler Barberis is with us. Big Wizards guy, big Baltimore sports guy. Check him out on Twitter at Tyler Barberis _ and he has been all tapped in to the Wizards so far in the Summer League. And tonight, just a bit of a dud here, and it was kind of expected when you saw who was playing for this Wizards team tonight. It's a couple minor injuries, a little hamstring thing for Trey Johnson and a sore thumb for Will Riley that keeps those guys out from playing. And the expectations going into the Summer League was that you'd always see guys like Sarr, Bub, and Keyshawn probably playing 2 games, and that does end up holding true. 74-58, Washington falls to Philadelphia, and overall just pretty dull performance from the Wiz Kids. But a couple of good things that we can touch on from tonight, including Jamir Watkins, who had a record-setting defensive performance. We'll touch on that in the second segment. Tyler, like I said in the intro, I'm not really mad that a lot of these guys aren't playing because it was the expectation. But for me, I was a little bit disappointed because I think there were some things from a lot of the guys that did not go tonight. And I'm not going to say anything, about the minor injuries, because if those are, indeed legit concerns, I have no problem with that. It's not worth it to get somebody banged up over a Summer League game. And especially the way Trey Johnson has played, how calm and comfortable he's looked. But guys like Bub Carrington adapting to a new role, maybe would have liked to see him play another game, to see him get downhill a little bit more. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on, the lineup that was put out today. Do you think you saw enough from a lot of these year 2 guys, and Trey Johnson, Will Riley included, so far?
Yeah. Trey Johnson is one of those guys that he didn't even have to play your Summer League game if you didn't really need him to. He's so gifted as a scorer that, those first 2 games was all I needed to see personally. And I think his scoring upside is tremendous, arguably has top 3 scoring upside in the whole draft, especially after we watched how the first couple of games in Summer League went. He's just so efficient from every part of the field. He really does seem like a steal at number 6 overall. So I'm okay with letting Trey rest up, especially since he had that minor. I want to say it was a lower body injury. I want to say it was his knee or maybe like his hamstring or something like that.
Mhm.
So I'm happy that we're taking the precaution there with Trey. As for Will Riley, I don't really get him not playing tonight, coming off one of his best games on Saturday, I believe it was. No, it was Sunday. Excuse me. He looked great. I think he went 5 for 6, 3 for 4 from 3. Had a couple and ones. He looked stellar, and he looked like he belonged on the court. And that was my biggest concern with Will, was what was the transition from college to summer league going to look like for him. And he's not just running up and down, getting his steps in, getting his Tony Snell stat line in. He's really performing and he's producing. So I would have liked to see Will play, especially with guys like Keyshawn Gilbert and Zeke Mayo getting 6 and 7 minutes. I think that Riley could have taken those away. So I would have liked to see him, and hopefully we do get to see him in the final regular season, and I quote, matchup of the Summer League. But for Jamir Watkins, man, I was extremely impressed with him. Just his ability to play defense at such a high level. This tweet coming on Wizards Muse, VJ Edgecombe at the half when being guarded by Jamir Watkins, 0 points, 0 for 7 from the field. 0 for 4 from 3. 1 turnover. Watkins had 3 steals and 2 blocks, 5 total stocks. I mean, if this guy in Jamir Watkins can develop a consistent or just a league average 3-point shot, this could be a guy that is going to be a key rotational piece for this Wizards team for the next 5+ years. And you look at guys like Marcus Smart make their money off of playing defense and making threes. And it's pretty cool that you have him in the locker room now. Hopefully, Jamir can learn a couple things, but I was very impressed with him on defense. Offense, I'm sure it'll get there. I mean, what he did at Florida State, he had such a high usage rate there that the only worry is him transitioning to more of an off-ball role. But if the defense is there, Jameer is going to have a spot on this team, regardless of what his offensive skill set looks like.
Yeah, the offensive game is going to be a work in progress for him for sure. 4 of 16 tonight, wildly inefficient, 1 of 7 from
Yeah.
beyond the arc. So you'd hope he could be a little better than under 15% from beyond the arc. But 8 steals and 3 blocks to go along with his performance, as you mentioned, shutting down the third best player in the draft class in VJ Edgecombe for the most part in the first half. There's a lot to like about Jamir Watkins. I think that was one of the things that I could get a little bit excited about tonight when I did see the lineup. I was like, okay, well, we're going to see some more opportunities for other guys. Maybe we'll see some run from Dylan Jones, a big
Yeah.
opportunity for AJ Johnson, who had some flashes as we've seen through the first 2 games, but overall went 7 of 20 from the field. One thing I was really interested to see just after looking at the final box score for the game, nobody was positive plus minus tonight, except for Dylan Jones, who was a mere 1 plus minus. He was the only positive player overall. So just goes to show you what kind of performance you got as a whole from the team today. But overall, I was excited to see some of these guys get more ample run out on the floor tonight. AJ Johnson, although 1 of 7 from beyond the arc, and that's been the big struggle for him, is lacking consistency shooting from the outside. Through the first 3 games, what have you seen from AJ Johnson, and what are you looking for him to improve on as we get toward the regular season here, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, with AJ, you saw the flashes towards the back end of last season, right? Especially during the month of March is when he really started to find his way, and then April, he had a really good month of April. He just seems like a guy that in transition he will kill you. But in the half court setting, it's a different story. And if you have a one-dimensional player like that, it's pretty hard to get him a lot of run on the court, especially with how young and hungry this Wizards team is. I'm going to have to see a little bit more from AJ Johnson. Like, he's a guy, right, that I feel like, in my opinion, he's a little bit too small and lanky. Like, he doesn't have enough weight to play shooting guard, and he doesn't have the playmaking skills and capabilities to be a point guard. I mean, he took 20 shots tonight, was on the court for 31 minutes, only had 1 assist to go with 3 turnovers. I mean, that isn't what I want to see out of a guy that I had hopes for coming into Summer League that could possibly be our backup point guard next season or for the future. With AJ, I just want to see him develop that half court game. I want him to have a little go-to shot. I mean, he really likes attacking, trying to get downhill, and then he kind of hits like the LeBron step back where he acts like he's going, then he just stays on his back pivot and brings his weight back. I mean, that seems like a go-to for him, but I just need to see him do more in the half court. I want to see him be more of a willing defender. Sometimes you kind of just see him jumping in passing lanes, trying to get out in transition for showtime, which obviously when AJ Johnson's out in the transition, especially when he has an open lane, it's prepare for takeoff. But you're not always going to get those opportunities. So with AJ, I want to see him be a little bit more efficient. I want to see him work on his playmaking a little bit more. I get that, you're probably the best player on this Wizards team tonight, but no reason for you to shoot 20 shots, especially when you know that it's not your night. Try and get other guys involved. Try and play a different style of your game to see how it could possibly translate to the regular season. But with AJ overall, just getting better in the half-court setting, trying to get his teammates more involved. And I just think the game has to come to him a little bit slower, right? He's speeding up a little bit too much because he always wants to play fast and at one pace. So if he can just slow down, get his handle under control, playmaking, IQ under control. I think he'd be a great player. Those are my handful of things, honestly, that I'm trying to look at for AJ to see if he can be a staple in this Wizards team for the future.
I think you hit the nail on the head right there with AJ. He is a guy that really does play at one speed from what we've seen so far. But best believe
Yep.
if you get him going in transition with the lane, you should probably just get out of his way because he's going to take off and try to punish the rim. One thing I noticed with him that's really funny to me when I watch him and Alex Sarr, I go, wow, if Alex Sarr had the same mentality that AJ Johnson had attacking, Alex Sarr would be the best player in the NBA.
Right. Yeah,
Because, like, for a
totally.
dude who's 7 foot, Alex Sarr can handle the ball pretty damn well. There are a couple instances where I saw him dribble the basketball on the wing, and make his move and get a step toward the middle, but he kinda just lacks, 1, the coordination, and 2, I feel like the mentality, to go up and just put it down on someone's head at times. So I kinda wanted to transition this from what you saw from Alex Sarr over the last 2 games. I know summer league hasn't really been his forte because we saw a completely different Alex Sarr in game number 2 versus game number 1. Obviously, last summer league wasn't good at all for Alex Sarr, but he ended up having a
Mhm.
pretty solid regular season as it went on. But what have you made about, or what have you made from Alex Sarr and his development, really over the last second half of the year, and then also into the past couple games in summer league?
Yeah, the my biggest concern for Alex, and I feel like I speak for all Wizards fans when I say this, is his interior presence offensively, not his interior presence defensively, right? You
Yeah,
drafted him number 2 overall because of the athleticism, the length, and the upside, right? And you knew that he was going to be a above average to elite defender and rim protector. And we've seen that. We saw that 2 nights ago when he got 8 blocks, a summer
unbelievable.
league career high, which you and Abdullah touched on the episode. I want to say either this morning or yesterday,
Mhm.
but you know what you get with Alex on the defensive end. Now, defensively, and then I'll go over to his offensive game. Can he be able to guard 3 through 5? Right? Can he check a guy like Kevin Durant on the wing? Can he check a guy like Jason Tatum? I think that's his next step defensively and not jumping as much. Obviously, there are some shots where Alex Sarr can just soar and jump, and that was and he had one of those blocks in summer league 2 nights ago. That was I think under the 2 minute mark where he completely just soared out of nowhere and just pinned someone off the backboard. But when you're going up against these bigs and these more athletic and just more composed, poised wing attackers, you got to learn how to stay on your feet and use your massive 7'7" wingspan to your advantage. I think defensively, if Sarr can just become more poised on the defensive end, this is going to be a guy that is going to be battling Victor Wembanyama and Cooper Flag and Anthony Davis for defensive player of the years for the next 3+ years. I mean, this is the upside that Sarr possesses.
Mhm.
Offensively, I love that he could shoot, and I love that last year he wanted to take threes, right? Because that's a skill that you see a lot of big men not have. More have it nowadays, but like imagine if Rudy Gobert had a 3-point shot or even a mid-range shot. This could be this he could be an all NBA guy to this day, but you don't see that with Sarr. His ability to space the floor, shoot it at a respectable clip, and he shot at a near 40% mark in the final month and a half of the season from three. Uh, that's a big plus for me with Sarr. We talked about this a couple minutes ago, though, how, if Sarr had AJ Johnson's mindset offensively, like watch out, league. And I think with Sarr, he has to just learn how to play in his body more. But also understand that you're 7 foot, but you're more gifted than these 7 footers. You have a handle. You grew up as a guard, and then you got a growth spurt, right? So use
Mhm.
what use what you've learned over the course of your career in France and try and translate it to the NBA. I mean, obviously, he's got to be a little bit stronger and tougher down there. I would like to see him get a little bit better with his counter moves. He has a nice spin move going to his right. I want to see him use a left hand. I honestly couldn't tell you a time when I saw Alex Sarr make a left-handed layup. I think that has to come along, and that was my main concern too with Denny Avdia. He didn't really have a left hand. Sarr doesn't have a left hand right now. Sarr can get that left hand, learn how to use his, dribbling advantage to counter some of these 7-foot big men. I think you're going to be looking at a 20, 10, and 3 guy, right? And I think that's where the upside with Sarr is. However, some of these things don't translate and he can't develop these. I still think you have a really, really good floor as a shot blocker and as a floor spacer.
Well said. I mean, that's why I've been so high on him for such a long time, why I think he has all NBA potential, because you know what he brings to the table defensively, offensively. It's very much a work in progress, but I don't think anyone should be willing to give up on what he can do offensively because of the skills he possesses at his size. Real quick, we take a break. When we come back, I want to touch on Jamir Watkins just a little bit more and what we've seen from him so far in the Summer League. So stick with us here on Locked On Wizards. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. And whether you can track all your accounts on there, investments and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. One thing I noticed when I downloaded Monarch Money was just how much I was spending on food, eating out, and things of that nature when I was in college. It was ridiculous. And Monarch Money helped me get that in check for the most part and started to help me save a whole lot more. One financial goal that I became serious about was saving just that much more of every paycheck that I got. And that's been exactly the case ever since I downloaded Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Locked On Wizards, segment number 2 here alongside Tyler Barberis from the Let's Talk About It podcast and from Fox Sports Knoxville. A pleasure to be joined by him today. And Jamir Watkins, we've already touched on it a little bit here in the first segment, a record-setting performance in the Summer League tonight. The Wizards fall to Philadelphia 74-58, but 8 steals and 3 blocks. So the number 8 has been the magic number for defensive records in the Summer League here in the past 2 nights for the Washington Wizards. So you love to see that. You love to see how this team has bought into a defensive mentality. And what I've noticed, Tyler, about Jamir Watkins, not even just what he's able to do when he's defending on the ball, he has such a high basketball IQ, and I don't know if that comes from the high usage rate at Florida State and the way the mentality has been instilled from him there as a Seminole. He is unbelievably gifted at reading passing lanes and finding himself disrupting passing lanes, which I think is a very underrated aspect of a player. It takes away the whole dynamic of an offense because the Brooklyn game especially, he was insanely disruptive out there, and just the way he was taking away passing lanes, you get them out of system offensively, and everything kind of comes together through that. You have really strong team defensive possessions because of what Jamir Watkins is able to do on the floor. What have you seen in that realm?
Yeah, you nailed it there. The ability to be disruptive without having to shoot. I think that is so important. I mean, you look at a guy like Lou Dort. He's made a NBA career off of playing defense and hitting spot up threes and not overcomplicating his game, not trying to be someone that he isn't. There is there is a role for a Jamir Watkins type player on every NBA team, and I'm glad that the Wizards got him. Watkins is a guy that, when I was doing the pre-draft research process, I didn't necessarily look into Watkins a lot outside of me watching him at Florida State for the past 4 years. My older brother went to Florida State. We're a big Florida State household. But when I was watching Florida State with Jamir Watkins, it just seemed like this guy belonged on the court, and he was arguably the best player on the court. I watched him in the ACC tournament 2 years ago. He was fantastic there, best player on the court there. Like Jamir, he just translates to
That's actually
level.
That's super cool. How hype were you when they took him then?
Man, I texted my family immediately, and I was like, Jamir Watkins is a Wizard, and they were all like, all right, well, I feel bad for him. That's literally what they all said. They said,
See,
I feel
I'm
bad
I'm
for him.
feeling the same thing because of the Cape Cod Baseball League. The guy that won the MVP of the league, the team I called games for, he got drafted by the Nationals. So I'm fired up about that. Everyone's like, "Well,
Yeah.
pray for your boy. He has to play for the Nationals." So I mean, I feel I kind of look at it the same way. But that's really interesting that you bring that up with Watkins and you got that first perspective to see what kind of player it is. When you saw him in college, then what stuck out the most about him other than his defense? You said that you thought could translate to the next level here.
His body, his build, it allowed him to get to the free throw line at an absurd rate. This is a guy that lived at the free throw line in his final year at Florida State. And you look at what he did against the Nets 2 nights ago. Only played 18 minutes. Yeah, he went 0 for 4, 0 for 3 from the field. But he was disruptive on defense and he got to the free throw line. He shot 6 free throws and hit 5 of them. Like, this is a guy that is just a dog. He has a dog mentality. And when I was watching him live, like, you could see that. Luckily, me and my mom, we had really, really good seats for this. We were damn near courtside. So, and I heard this guy talking to smack. I mean, and he was backing it up too. I think he had 28 points and they ended up beating Virginia Tech in this game. And this is a guy that just has a certain motor to him that it's really hard to find. Like, this is a guy that is as motivated as the guy in VJ Edgecombe who was living off a generator for half his life. Like, Jamir has that dog in him. Marcus Smart has that dog in him. Lou Dort has that dog in him. Is Jamir Watkins the next Marcus Smart or Lou Dort? Don't want to jump to conclusions. If he develops that three-point shot, which in college he struggled with, but the mechanics look good. He's got a good body, good size, good frame. This can be a guy that can be very disruptive on the defensive end for years to come. And if he could be a 35% three-point shooter and get to that free throw line at a very, very good rate, this could be a guy that could give you 8 points and a steal off the bench playing 15 minutes for the next 5 years. And I would be stoked if that was the case with Jamir Watkins. Very impressed with him so far in the Summer League.
Yeah, I don't know if you can really go wrong with a guy that can play defense as well
You
as him
can't.
because one, he'll give you plenty of minutes off the bench, especially if somebody gets into foul trouble and you need it, or if you're in a situation where you need a defender, even if he can't contribute more than a couple points offensively, if he never does develop that shot from the outside to become a Lou Dort caliber player. But if his defense is so disruptive, you're not a liability on the floor if you're that good defensively. That's been the biggest thing for me. That's what I said about Keyshawn George the other night because it was a pretty uncharacteristic night for him, going 3 of 14 from the field, 1 of 8 from beyond the arc. But the dude was everywhere defensively and had 5 steals. Like, you won't even notice that a dude can't really play offense if he's that disruptive defensively. Alex Sarr the other night with 8 blocks, although he did have a pretty solid night offensively in the second half. I think it matters a lot, and Jamir Watkins is almost an example, for me, of what this front office has instilled with Will Dawkins. It's kind of a throw a bunch of things at the wall and see what sticks. And I
Yeah.
feel like Jamir Watkins is a guy that is going to stick for me, not because I expect him to be a superstar kind of player, but he's just going to fit in the rotation here for the foreseeable future, especially the next couple years. Not much expectation for the team to compete. I think they're going to get a lot out of Jamir Watkins here over the next couple of years. So that's been the nicest thing for me to see in the summer league is how that has kind of transpired and how what we heard about him pre-draft is coming into fruition here with his defensive work. There's overall a lot of things to like about what we've seen defensively in the summer league, and I'm going to take tonight out of the equation. But Bub and Trey defending on the ball has been ridiculously good in my opinion. And Trey, he said it perfectly. He said, "They don't bring me here to score," which, is a lie. They drafted him because of how good they drafted him because how good he is as a scorer. And
Yeah.
he knows that. But you love to hear how he has bought in the mentality. He looks great defending on the ball. And I know it's completely an effort thing with him because it wasn't part of his defensive tendencies at Texas. But with the size he possesses at 6'5", nearly 6'6", he has the tools to be a really good defender. What have you noticed from the two guards in Carrington and Johnson defending the perimeter through the first couple of games?
Yeah, with Trey, it wasn't a concern as to whether or not he could defend because we all know, if you're 6'5", 6'6", you're playing at an SEC school, you were a 5-star, you have a good frame, like you can defend if you want to. With Trey, it was just the motor. And I feel like at Texas, they didn't necessarily want him exerting all this energy, playing on ball, guarding the number one scoring option on the team because he's exerting so much energy on offense, running around screens, coming off pin downs, off balls, floppy actions. That I think they wanted to find a strategy and a way to preserve his body until like March comes around. And I think they did a great
Hmm.
job with that, the staff at Texas, which is why we didn't see, which is why we saw a lot of people talking about, oh, Trey Johnson is the only knocks on him are his ability to finish at the rim and his ability to defend. But now, after watching his first two summer league games, he can defend like he looks like
Yeah.
a very, very good defender. And I think with Trey was just the motor. But now you're in the NBA. Now there isn't a plan put in place for you to preserve your body and your energy. You're a rookie. You're 20 years old, 19 years old, however old Trey is. You're going to go out there and you're going to give it your all on both sides of the court. And Trey has done that in his first summer league games. With Bub,
100%. 100%. So
I can't wait to see
don't
Trey
want to
there.
cut you off.
No,
Real
you're good.
quick,
Continue.
we're gonna get this last break in, and when we come back, we'll put a bow on this and get some of your last thoughts here on the summer league. Stick with us here on Locked On Wizards. All right, now that that's taken care of, let's put a bow on this thing. Overall thoughts from the summer league. We're 3 games in. The Wizards are 1-2, but a lot of good things, positive things that we've had to talk about. Overall, as we approach the regular season here in a couple of months, Tyler, is there anything you've seen in the summer league that has given you a lot of hope going forward about this Wizards team? Not necessarily, I guess, for the regular season because of the expectations the team will have, but beyond that for years to come.
Yeah. First things first, I think you have a guy in Trey. I mean, this is a guy that is looking like a top 3 talent in the draft already. And will he be able to translate to the next level? It's looking like it. Now, until we see him, trying to shake a guy like Matisse Thybulle or a Lou Dort or Derek White, elite defenders, then I think it's hard to make a prediction as to how his career is going to pan out. But Trey looks like he's going to belong here, and he looks like a guy that can give you, 20 plus, 25 plus points a game in his prime. And I said, this guy looks like the best scorer that the Wizards have had since Gilbert Arenas. And I truly do mean that. Alex Sarr looks great defensively, and he looks more aggressive on the offensive side of the ball, which is nice. Was expecting him to have a little bit of a left hand. Didn't have that, but that'll come as he gets bigger and as he gets older. Keyshawn George, whoa. This guy looked like the best player on the court for the Wizards in his first two summer league games.
Yep.
This guy, I'm in a Wizards group chat with a bunch of other creators on Wizards Twitter, and I was like, is it just me or is Keyshawn the best ball handler on the court? Like this guy, his ability to use his body, his frame, his dribble combos, his counters. I mean, this
Mhm.
guy looks like a true point forward who could shoot, pass, rebound, and defend.
I'll I'll
I
let you
love it.
go on this actually, Tyler, because you transitioned this very well. Maybe I guess you can include Bilal Coulibaly part of this conversation. Is Keyshawn George in the running right now of the best young wizard at the moment?
Oh my God,
Does Bilal
yes.
d
What
does Bilal still have the edge over him, or could you really make the argument that Keyshawn is number 1?
I was most impressed out of all rookies last season with Keyshawn George. Not because of where he got drafted at, but because he just belonged, man. I love guys that can defend. I love guys that can rebound. I love guys that can play make, shoot, and attack the basket. That's Keyshawn George. Now, does he do any of those exceptionally besides the defensive side of the ball? He's exceptional there. No, his offensive game still needs some work. But I mean, he's a guy that is just going to get better and better and better every single year. And I genuinely think that upside wise, he doesn't have the most upside, but right now he's the most polished for sure. I mean, Bilal still has ways to come on the offensive end. Defensively, he's great. Sarr, ways to go on the offensive end. Bub, we can talk about this another time. Not sure if he's going to stick at point guard. I do have a
Mhm.
couple doubts about that, but I mean, just Bub's ability just to, get in that mid range, just be so effective there is so fun and awesome to watch. But I mean, outside of the rookies that we drafted this year, I mean, Keyshawn legitimately, I think, could be most improved player if he gets the sample size there. My final statement that I want to make, because that we're wrapping things up here, wouldn't be surprised at all if AJ Johnson and Jamir Watkins started out in the go-go playing for the G League affiliate. I think that would do a lot of really good things for AJ, as he's still only 19 years old, I think, or maybe he just turned 20. Watkins a little bit older, but I think just him getting more reps down there, playing at that high usage rate that we're used to him seeing at, or that he's used to playing in at Florida State. I think that'll help him get up to speed more with the NBA play, and it'll really help him become just a better 3-point shooter, playing off really, really good and creative ball handlers like AJ Johnson. So really impressed overall with Summer League. I can't wait for the regular season to start. The most hyped up I've ever been for Wizards basketball, or not ever been, but it's the most buzz that we've had since the 2018 season after the 2016-17 year. Can't wait to see it. Keyshawn George, most improved player. Y'all heard it here first.
There you have it. Tyler Barberis, one of the best to do it in the business. We thank everyone who makes Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. For your second, find the Locked On NBA podcast where there's no offseason. Doug, Matt, and Hayes keep you up to date on contract negotiations, rumors, and everything you need to know to be the most informed NBA fan. Find Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Big shout out to our guy, Tyler Barberis, fills in for Abdullah tonight. Be sure to check him out. Check out his podcast, the Let's Talk About It podcast. A lot of Baltimore sports content, if you're into that, but a lot of Washington Wizards as well. And also check him out on Twitter, Tyler Barberis _. We appreciate you having on, man. Keep it going. We'll have you back on here soon.
Yeah, brother, totally looking forward to it. I think this is my second time coming on over the past couple of weeks, and it always does well. I always have a good time talking about Wizards. There's a lot of good things to talk about, so it seems like we haven't had this in a while, so a lot of good things coming. Love hopping on here and talking some Wizards basketball with you, Ben. Thank you for the opportunity.
Anytime, man. Let's keep it locked on going forward. This is Ben Strober here on Locked On Wizards. We thank you for tuning in.